या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसति जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती। नमामि नारायण पादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायण पूजनं सदा वदामि नारायण नाम निर्मलं स्मरामि नारायण तत्त्वमव्ययम्. Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Guru Ayappan, Mahaperiyava and Guru Parampara, we are now on Dasakam 15, Canto 6. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitarthaih kudumbam pratidina manupushpan strijito balalali vishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha kapila tanurititvam tvam devahutyai nyagadhi. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitarthai kutumbam pratidina manupushnan strijito balalali vishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha kapila tanurititvam devahutyai nyagadhi. Ahaha mayi abhaktaha bahula himsa sanchitarthaihi pratidinam kudumbam anupushnan strijitaha balalali grihasaktaha yatanam hi vishati iti kapilatanutvam devahutyai nyagadihi. Sanvaya. Now the word meaning. Ahaha, alas, mayi abhaktaha, one who has no devotion to me. Bahula himsa sanchitartaihi, that means bahulabhihi himsabhihi sanchitaihi artaihi, with wealth earned by many cruel and unfair acts. Pratidinam, every day. Kudumbam anupushnan, bringing up his family. Strijitaha, being under the control of his wife. Balalali, lavishing affection on his children. Grihasaktaha, intensely attached to his house and possessions. Yatanam hi vishati, goes to hell indeed. Iti kapilatanuhu tvam devahute nyagadihi. Thou did thou, as Kapila, instruct Devahuti. Literal meaning. Alas, one who has no devotion to me, who earns wealth by cruel and unfair means to bring up his family. He is always thinking only of his wife and children, and he is intensely attached to his worldly possession, goes only to hell. This verse is a very striking verse. In the last 5th verse, when Bhavai talked about the devotion to the Lord. Now, if the devotion to the Lord is lacking, what happens is explained here. The miserable flight of a samsari, a kudumbi, who is having no devotion to God. So, without devotion to the Lord, a person who is attached to his wife and children only, and leading a material life in an unrighteous manner, just for the sake of family, he says, goes to hell. Hell here, the word is used as the yatana. Yatana means the one that undergoes intense pain here and also after. Here is talked about that a person is earning money for livelihood for the sake of family is not a wrong action. But using unfair means, not in keeping with the dharma, it always attracts papa. It always attracts suffering. That's what he's talking about. So, there is a famous statement made in the Smriti which says, Ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha samanyametat pashubihi naranam dharmadi tesham atikaha naranam dharmo bihinaha pashubihi samana. Between the human being and animals includes all the birds, everything. 4 things are common. Ahara, that is the hunger or the desire for food. Nidra, sleep. Bhaya, fear. Maituna, progeny, the desire for procreating children. These are common for both Manusha as well as human being as well as animals. What distinguishes the human being from the animal is, it says, Dharmo adi tesham atikaha narana, is dharma. Dharma distinguishes the human being from the animal. If the person leads a life for all this and something above also, in keeping with dharma, then he is a manusha, is a human being. Dharmo bihinaha, if the dharma is not there, then he is equal to animal. Here the need for dharma, righteousness is talked about. There is a statement also in Smriti Vakya says, Dharma eva atohanti, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. The one who protects dharma gets protected by dharma. Yena dharmaha rakshitaha tam dharmam rakshati. Similarly, one who destroys or causes harm to dharma also gets destroyed by adharma. Yena dharmaha hataha tam dharmam hanti. This is a very common statement. Therefore, all our actions are nothing but reciprocation of our dharma. Dharma is very important. Now, dharma is possible only when one invokes the Ishvara. Only one who has God, one who accepts Ishvara as one who protects me, such person only will have value, dharma as a value. A person who is not a devotee will not see dharma as a value. And here that plight of that person is talked about, who is not a devotee, and therefore he wants to somehow earn money and lead a totally materialistic level. There are 3 types of stages of life talked about: Adhama, Madhyama and Uttama. In Adhama Sukham, one purely lives like an animal just for security and pleasures, Arthakama, not foregoing all the dharma. In Madhyam Sukha, this is called, Adhama Sukha is called Sakama Adharma Anushtana. In the Madhyama Sukha, the person also takes care of the family, also leads a family life, but is in keeping with dharma. So it is called Sakama Dharma Anushtana. It's a Madhyama Sukham he gets. And Uttama Sukham comes when a person goes from out of the Sakama and comes to Nishkama Dharma Anushtanam and gains knowledge. Such a person's Sukham is called Uttama Sukham. So here we are talking about a person who is in the lower rung. Such a person who is in the lower rung enjoys maximum suffering. And the word Yatana is used. The Yatana word literally means serpent or dog or a place where wild animals inhabit. So symbolically it expresses as the pain. So such a person undergoes intense pain not only here but also after death. It is in Bhagavatam it is mentioned here elsewhere that the person undergoes what is called the Raurava Naraga, which is one of the 28 hells described in Bhagavatam. I would not like to go into it in detail here. It should be understood clearly that a person gets a human birth after passing through the various other births in the form of marine creatures, grass, worms, birds, etc. So, Durlabam hi Manushya Janmaha, says Shankaracharya and Viveka Chudamani. Therefore, we should not waste our human being. So, a person who leads an animal life enjoys, which is only the Adhama Sukham, only human being we should understand has got what is called a free will or also Viveka. Free will means what? That a will to or a desire to do a thing, not to do a thing, or do a thing differently. Kartum sakyam, akartum sakyam, anyata va sakyam. So when one exercises free will in conformity with dharma and using viveka, one reaches the ultimate goal. One is given the free will. Animals do not have a free will. Animals are a programmed creation. And that is why it is said animals don't attract karma. Because they do not do any adharma, because what is programmed they act. It's like a computer. Whereas human beings, since they are given a free will, they can use the free will misuse the free will or abuse the free will. And therefore, the person can incur papa or punya. If he does good action in keeping with dharma, he incurs the adrishtaphalam called punya. He gets the adrishtaphalam called punya. If he violates the dharma and causes harm to others, he incurs papa. So punya papa becomes the part of the karma which he has to undergo, which therefore there is no escape from him. And therefore the person has to exercise his free will in such a way that he enjoys his life, he causes benefit to the society, and also it also uses the free will for realizing moksha, for reaching moksha, or for having a higher value in life. This is very important. If such a person not does that, then he becomes only a bhogi. There's a verse in Bhagavata which says, when you enjoy life, bhogena punyam nashyati, abhogena papam nashyati. When you have a self-restraint, then do not enjoy also, your sins, your papa goes away, punya remains. A mere bhogi, like this in this manner, a arthakami becomes only a rogi. But if the same person leads a life in keeping with dharma, he becomes a yogi. Because from karma yogi, he becomes a jnana yogi and reaches the health. That is, reaches the ultimate purushartha called moksha. So it is a very important verse which helps us to say how you should lead your life. The most important aspect is that one should have devotion to the Lord, which is very, very important. As such a person, to get mental peace, he needs divine support, which is what we call as a devotion to Lord, which alone is the ultimate medicine to cure the ills or diseases of samsara, and can miraculously save a person from disaster. Hence, devotion to Lord is the only solution for a person to come out of the sufferings of samsara. His samsara otherwise becomes a veritable inferno. As Milton says in the Paradise Lost, the life becomes a veritable inferno. And this aspect has been stressed here, that one who has no devotion to me and one who gets intensely attached to his worldly position goes only to hell. It is also worth mentioning that in Bhagavata 12, 3rd Adhyaya 37 verses 38 and 42, 37, 38, 42 also mentions about the state of affairs in Kali Yuga, where it is mentioned that as Kali Yuga approaches towards the end, the person loses the concept of dharma totally, that he leads an animal life and causes destruction to himself and also to others. We'll go to verse number 7 in the next session. Bhave bhave yata bhaktihi padayostava jayate tata kurusha devesha natastvam no yata prabhu nama sankirtanam yasya sarva bhava pranasanam pranamo dukkha samanaha tam namami harim param. Narayana Akhila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Hari Ya Devi Stuyade Nityam Vibudhair Veda Paragaihi Same Vasatu Jihvagre Brahma Rupa Saraswati Namami Narayana Pada Pankajam Karumi Narayana Pujanam Sada Vadami Narayana Namadharmalam Smarami Narayana Tattvam Abhyayam. Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Guru Ayappan, Mahabhiriva and Guru Parambara, we are now entering into verse number 7 of Dasakam 15. Prior to that, in the last session, I made a mention about one verse, Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maitunam Cha Samanyametat Pashubhihi Naranam. Then I said Dharmadi, it's not Dharmadi, Dharmohi. Dharmohi Tesham Atikaha Manushyanam. Naranam means for Nara, Dharma is the additional one available, unlike the animals. So dharmo hi tesham, not dharmadi, dharmo hi tesham atikaha narana dharmo bhinaha pasubhihi samanam. So that needs to be noted, corrected. Another thing, I said dharma eva hatohanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So the one who protects dharma gets protected. I said dharmam rakshati, it is dharmaha rakshati. Dharmaha hanti, dharmaha rakshati. One who destroys or causes harm to dharma gets destroyed. Dharmaha eva rakshati. One who protects dharma gets protected by dharma. Dharmaha, it's a Pullinga Sabda, not Dharma. Just make a note of it. Now we are going on to the verse number 7. Yuvati Jatarakinno Jatabodhopyakante Prasava Galita Bodhaha Pidhayolankhya Bhalyam Punarapi Bada Mukhyatyeva Tarunyakale Kapila Tanurititvam Devahutyai Nyagadhihi Yuvati Jatarakinno Jatabodhopyakante Prasava Galita Bodhaha Pidhayol Langhya Bhalyam Punarapi Bada Mukhyatyeva Tarunyakale Kapila Tanurititvam Devahutyai Nyagadhihi. Anvaya Yuvati Jatarakinna Akante Jatabotaha Api Prasava Galita Bodhaha Pidaya Balyam Ullankhya Tarunyakale Punaha Api Muhyati Eva Bata Iti Kalpatanuhu Tvam Devahutyai Nyagadihi. Meaning of the verse, literal. Yuvati Jatara Kinnaha. Vyutpati will be Yuvatyaha Jatare Kinnaha. Suffering in the womb of a young woman. That is mother here. Yuvatyaha Jatare Kinnaha. Yuvatya is the mother, the womb. Jatare is the womb. Akante Jata Bodhaha Api. Those suddenly getting knowledge of the reality. Prasava Galita Bodhaha. Prasave Galitaha Bodhaha Yasya Saha. That is the Vyutpati of this word. Losing that knowledge immediately on birth. Pidaya Bhalyam Ullankhya. Spending his childhood afflicted with ailments, Pidaya, or sufferings we can say. Tarunyakale Punaha Api. Again during youth. Mukhyati Eva Bata. Is infatuated with worldly pleasures. Bata means alas, or what a pity. Iti Kapilatanuhu Tvam Devahutyai Nyakadihi. Meaning of the verse, while suffering in the womb of the mother, he suddenly gets knowledge of the supreme reality, but this knowledge is lost as soon as he comes out of the womb. After spending his childhood suffering from various afflictions, during youth, he remains infatuated with worldly pleasures. Alas. Thus, the Lord, as Kapila, as avatar of the Lord, instructed Devahuti or gave this knowledge to Devahuti. Here, the travails and the sufferings of the child in the womb are described. First, it says that the child in the womb of the mother gets the knowledge of the supreme reality. That means the child in the womb of the mother, it is said, in the 7th month gains this Paramartha Jnanam. The child is aware of its previous births and also what causes suffering and how to come out of it. All this knowledge is the child has. In fact, the Bhagavatam, Tritiya Skanda, 31st Adhyaya, vividly contains verses from 12 to 21 about this account of the thoughts of the child in the womb when this knowledge takes place. It's shortage of time. We'll just take only one verse, last one, 21, the climax of this. Tasmadaham vikata viklaba uddarishya atmanamasu tamasa sukritatmanaiva bhuyo yatha vyasanameta dane karandram mame bhavishyat upasatita vishnupadaha. And we study the literal meaning of this verse. Thereafter, without being agitated anymore, the child says, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of ignorance with the help of my friend called Atma or the consciousness. Simply by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord in my mind, I shall be saved from the entering the womb of many mothers for repeated birth and death. This verse also reminds us of the famous verse in the Bhajagovindam. The text Bhajagovindam, the real text name of the text is not Bhajagovindam, it is called Moha Mudgaram. Udgara means a deep covered with moham, delusion. That is the meaning of the verse text actually. Bhajagovinda is come afterwards. So in that Bhajagovindam also the Shankara talks about Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jatare Sayanam, Iha Samsare Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murari. The same thoughts are recorded in this, that, oh Lord, save me from this cycle of birth and death. So the child has this kind of a knowledge in that time of 7th month. But there also what happens, during the next 3 months, the food which is flowing in the bloodstream of the mother, which is filled with the all Rajasic and Tamasic tastes. I mean, the rasas are considered to be Shad rasas, like salty, spicy, sour, sugar, bitter, astringent, etc. Shad rasas. So filled with the Shad rasa, which is flowing in the bloodstream of the mother, with the essence of this, the child's mind also gets polluted. The admixture of this food essence, the thought modifications arising in the mother, and the predicament of the mother's body, all these together make the child get entangled in an environment which is filled with sorrow and bondage. At that time, it is able to recollect vividly or remember the papas which have done during various janma or janmantara means. It recognizes the fact that the present suffering is the effect of papas, and then becomes conscious of the fact that to avoid further births, one should do only good karmas or sukritam. But this jnanam disappears once the child comes out of the womb, and therefore it starts crying, where am I? The kwa means where am I? That is a cry of the ignorance. The child starts crying because inside the womb it was happy, it was suffering, but it had the jnanam that it will come out of the womb, it will do only good karmas. But then when it comes out, everything gets shaken. The child again goes in search of the Paramabodha, but again gets caught up in samsara only. The vasanas of the mother to a great extent and father to some extent gets manifested in the child at the time of birth. Childhood is dependent on parents, and when it reaches the youth, the kama, krodha, moha, mada, matsarya, which we already covered earlier, the shadrupus, they overwhelm the mind. And bound with this raga and dvesha, the life of the child gets further diluted, entangled in worldly senses and pleasures and comforts. The child when is born and comes out of the person becomes, as a youth, gets deluded, thinking that this is sukham or happiness. The path of this also was talked about, we covered in the verse Bhagavad Gita, where it said, Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha, sangas teshu pajayate, sangas samjayate kamaha, kamat krodho bijayate, krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammoha smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranasyati. When the person gets attached to the sense objects, the attachment causes sangaha upajayate, that kama is born of attachment. And then from kama, krodaha abhijayate, these are all born. Attachment sangaha upajayate because of a commitment to the vishayas. From the attachment comes the kamaha, samjayate. Then he says abhijayate, krodha follows. Up till there is a control that when he is not attached, we can free ourselves from the kama and krodha. But when the krodha comes, this verse says, it is all bhavati. It happens automatically. Moha takes over, delusion or ignorance takes over. With ignorance, the smriti vibhramaha, memory is lost. With memory lost, buddhi nasha takes place, the intellect perishes, and the person lacking discrimination gets entangled in samsara, thinking that the samsara, which is asatyam, is sat, is sukham, and that which is real, the paramartha sattva, which is sukham, he considers as asatyam. This is the Brahma takes place. The Brahma or the knowledge goes away, and Brahma comes. This is say the child when it comes out, it happens here. Here we should understand that Vidhi and Nisheda is talked about when we have to take, when you have to practice the disciplines in life. You already covered about the Niyama earlier, do's and don'ts. There are two types of sins we commit. That is, Yat Kritya Tadakritam, not doing what should be done. That means Vidhi. He says you should do this, but when you don't do, that is a sin. So, avoidance of Vidhi is one sin. And then avoidance of another thing is Yadakrityam Tadkritam, doing what should not be done. That is called Nisheda. That is also another sin. So, what is to be avoided? One starts doing due to delusion. And what should be done? One does not do. Yat kritya tadakritam. Vidhi, not followed. Yadakritya tadkritam. Nishedam, doing what should not be done. Tata. Both these sins are committed. The person does not know what is to, he does exactly the opposite. When a person is entangled in samsara, he does what should not be done, and he does not do what should be done. Like, for example, we should not cause himsa, but we do himsa. The person speaks untruth when he should not speak. When should he speak truth? He should have clean, his thoughts should be clean, but then it's filled polluted. So the exact opposite takes place out of delusion. And therefore, the person gets entangled in samsara. That is talked about, saying that after spending his childhood suffering from various afflictions, in the womb of the mother, the child suffers because of the food which is going through the bloodstream. The child is also subject to suffering. It comes out also, is afflicted. The famous sloka of Bhagavad Gita again comes to our mind. Balastavat kridasaktaha. As a child, asakti is towards playing pranks. Tarunastavat taruni saktaha. When he becomes youth, he is more conscious of the body. Vriddhastavat chinta saktaha. When he becomes old, he is overwhelmed by worries. Pare brahmani kopina saktaha. There is no time for thinking of the Lord. Swami Dayananda used to put it in a different way. He says, Balastavat krida saktaha. Sakta asakti takes place, whether for playing, etc., at the very junior level. Tarunastavat taruni raktaha. One becomes raktaha. His blood is filled with the youth knowledge. Vriddhastavat chinta, he says, magnaha. One is overwhelmed, covered by magna, means chinta, only worries. So he is covered, he is suffering from asthma, therefore he cannot think of atma, like that one can take it. And pare brahmani kopina lagnaha. That means there is no time for thinking of the higher reality. That is the stage of such a person, that when he comes out of the child's womb, mother's womb, and as a youth, he gets fully infatuated with worldly pleasures, and the rest of the life becomes a total write-off, deviating from the path of jnanam or knowledge. He says, what a pity it is. Muhyati eva bata. Infatuation, muhyati, moha, delusion, causes such a miserable state of the person. Bata means alas. What a pity it is talked about. The Lord also says to this to Devahuti. Here I would like to also give you how a life spiritual chart should be, or how a person should evolve over the years. Up to the age of 10, one can be with the mother. You can hold on to the mother's sari up to the age of 10. When you reach at the age of 10, stop these childish pranks. Between 10 and 20, krida is okay. At the age of 30, give up the desires gradually. Have control over senses. When you reach 40, have regulation on the food. Do not stop in eating in between. That means you should have only breakfast, lunch and dinner, not in between. At the age of 50, skip the breakfast. At the age of 60, reduce talking. When I say 60 means it will be 60 to 70, next interval will be say. Reduce talking. Talk only when necessary. This one famous statement is made. When it is not necessary to talk, it is necessary not to talk. This is called vak tapas. One should follow the vak tapas. Gradually reduce talking unnecessary things. Think only of the higher reality. It is said that in the Shastra also, Jnane Maunam, a Jnani always is silent. At the age of 70, take food once only. Either have in the morning lunch or have a dinner, but do not have twice. Because the body also, digestive system comes out. With regulated food, the thoughts also will get purified. When you have time for thinking of the higher reality. At the age of 80, do not go out except when necessary. Remain in the house. And at the age of 90, that is 90 to 100, abstain from relatives and others. Live a life of solitude, total solitude. Your only companion is God. Think of Him at all times. Sata Govindameva Smaranam. And at the age of 100, renounce life with joy, without any regret, with contentment and happiness. This giving up life is born of also moksha. One can say the knowledge dawns, automatically one drops the prarabdha sharira. This is how should be the life of a spiritually evolved person. One should lead a life. We should go to verse number 8 in the next session. Bhave bhave yatha bhaktihi padayostava jayate tata kurushva devesha नातस्त्वं नो यतः प्रभो नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परं नारायण अखिलगुरु भगवन् नमस्ते हरि ओम्। या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसति जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती। नमामि नारायणपादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायणपूजनं सदा वदामि नारायणनामनिर्मलं स्मरामि नारायणतत्त्वमव्ययम्। Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Guru Vairappan, Mahapiriva and Guru Parampara. We are now on Dasakam 15, Kapilopadesham, verse number 8. Prior to that, the last session, I made a reference about the Balastavat Krida Saktaha, Tarunastavat Taruni Saktaha. That is from, I accidentally mentioned as Bhagavad Gita. It is not Bhagavad Gita, it is from Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam is called as the Moha Mudgara. Now we are now going on the verse number 8. Pitrusuraganayāji dharmiko yogrhastaha sacha nipatati kale dakshinādhopagami mayi nihitamakamam karma tudak patartam kapilatanuritittvam देवहूत्यै नगाधि। पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्योपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्म तूदक्पथार्थं कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगाधि। अन्वय धार्मिकः यः गृहस्थः पितृसुरगणयाजी सह च दक्षिणाद्योपगामी काले निपतति मयि निहितम् अकामं कर्म तु उदक् पदार्थम् इति कल्पतनुः त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादि। Meaning of the verse, Dharmikaha yaha grihasthaha, a householder who performs righteous deeds. Pitru Sura Ganayaji, who performs sacrifices to ancestors. Pitru means the Pitrus, and Sura means the Devas, gods. Sahacha, he, and he, Dakshinadhopagami, going by the southern path. Dakshinaha Udhopagami. Kale Nipatati. In due course, that is when his good deeds are exhausted, falls. Nipatata means falls. That means is again born here. Mayi Nihitam, dedicated to me. Akamam Karmatu, desireless action. However, Udak Padartham leads to the northern path. Udak means northern. Iti Kalpatanuhu Tvam Devahutye Nagadi. The meaning, a householder who performs righteous deeds and sacrifices to the mains or pitrus and the gods, devas, goes on death by the southern path and is born again when his punya is exhausted. But one who performs desireless action dedicated to me goes by the northern path. Here, in this verse, the reference is made about a person, a grihastha. A good grihastha who follows the swadharma, performs the yajna karma, worship and bali, etc. to devas and gods. After death, goes to the southern path. The southern path is called also Dhuma Marga, means the path of smoke. Adva means Marga or path. That's why it says Dakshina Advopagami, Dakshina Marga Upagami. After the punya is exhausted, he is born again on the earth. When you perform a karma, it gives two types of phala. One is called drishta phala and adrishta phala. It's very important, we should know all this. Drishta is means seen and adrishta is called unseen. Adrishta phala is called either punya or papa. A good action gives a adrishta called punya. A unrighteous bad action gives a adrishta called papa. When I cause harm to somebody, there is a pain experience that is called drishta phala, but there is also papa also comes, which is adrishta. When I do good to someone, then it causes harm, goodness to the other person. So happiness, that is the drishta phala, and the adrishta is the punya. So the punya or papa, they are decoded in the account. And for exhausting the punya or papa, we take the karma, we take the janma. There is no equivalent word in English for this punya because this concept is not there in other religion. So when one who performs this sakama karma with certain results in mind, and of course he is a righteous, good grihastha, performing righteous action, he gains punya. And therefore, after gaining the punya, after death, he goes to the Dhuma Marga. And that is the Dakshinayana. Dakshinayana means what? It's because he is performing the karma, before he is performing the sakama karma, he does not gain liberation. He goes to the world up to Surga for exhausting his punya and then again comes back. Whereas the one who performs nishkama karma only for antakarana shuddhi and surrendering to God totally, seeking Him only, goes through what is called Udak Pada, means the Uttarayana. So Dakshinayana and Uttarayana is talked about here. The Dakshinayana is also called the Dhuma Marga, that is for a Sakama karmi, and for a Nishkama karma, one who performs only for seeking the Lord, he goes to the Archiradi Marga. When one goes to the Archiradi Marga, one gains liberation, because there he is not expecting any punya or papa, therefore he gains liberation. So one is the path of bondage again, one again takes a samsara janma, the other gives liberation. That's what I was talking about here as Dakshinayana and Uttarayana. Both Pitru and Deva Yajna are done by only a Kamya devotee, and he is established at the Vyavaharika level for the sake of punya only. Hence he is bound by karma and therefore takes birth after exhausting punya. Whereas the one who seeks God seeks jnanam or absolute reality, Brahman only, one without a second, and hence he does not work for punya and therefore he gets liberated in the end after passing to Archiradi Marga. Dakshinayana is called Dhuma Marga. A Dhuma means cloudy. That means the veil of ignorance is there. That is indicated by the word Dhuma. It is not a clear path. It is a clouded path. So a Grihastha avoiding Nishiddha karma and performing only Vaidika karma or Vidita karma, but he is a Sakama Dharma Anushtani with expectation of results like Swarga, etc. And therefore he propitiates Devas and Pitrus. Bhagavad Gita and Shastra also talks of the Pancha Mahayajna, which is ultimately for self-growth. But the Grihastha does not have any tatparya for this, because he is not gaining freedom from samsara. He gains only punya. And hence he is caught up in the cycle of avidya, kama, karma, punya. Due to ignorance of one's nature, he entertains desires which propels him to do karma. Of course, he is a swadharmya good karma, therefore he gains punya. And with the punya, he goes to other lokas, enjoys, takes rebirth, and again performs kamya karma, comes back to the earth, performs kamya karma, and again travels to the dhuma marga, and this cycle gets repeated. That is why the dhuma marga word dhuma is used as the path which only causes more bondage. There is ignorance still persisting, therefore it is called dhuma, or it is a dakshinayana. Therefore he will never gain moksha or liberation. The cycle is continued. At the time, how he travels is also described here in this verse. This is not coming more in the Bhagavatam, not here in the Narayanyam, which I would like to summarize. At the time of death, the gross body falls, and the subtle body goes to Dhuma Devata. And thereafter, at night, it goes to Kala Devata. Then from Kala Devata delivers him into the world of Krishna Paksha Devata. Thereafter he is delivered in the heart of Dakshinayana Devata. In all these worlds, he will enjoy the result of all actions born of Punya. Thereafter, he goes to the Pitruloka and later Chandraloka. And thereafter, once the Punya is exhausted in Swargaloka, through Akasha and Vayu Marga, he reaches Dhuma Marga and Mega Marga, mixes with the Oshadis or herbs, and these herbs gets transformed into annam or the food, and in a seed or retas form, he enters the body of a woman. Depending upon the punya or papa, he enters. If he has got punya, he will definitely have a brahmana yoni. That's what is talked about here as a good grihastha. But if he has got some accumulated papa, then he will enter into a chandala yoni of a woman. Of course, that is not talked about in this verse. Archiradi marga is the marga prescribed as for the Uttarayana, for a jnani, one who performs nishkama karma. This is covered in detail in the 4th Dasakam from verses 10 to 14. They are covered there, already covered earlier, therefore I don't want to repeat it again. But I would like to briefly summarize here. There are two types of mukti talked about, what is called as the Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti. Here, I would like to make a reference about how the Advaita Vedanta Shastra talks about. In Advaita Vedanta Shastra, there's words used are all Jivan Mukta and Videha Mukta. A person, after purifying his mind, studying the Shastras through Shravana Manana Nitidhyasana, gains Jnanam, knowledge of the self. And once he gains the knowledge of the self and claims himself as the Aparoksha Atma, Nitya Atma, self I am, Aham Brahmasmi, he gains moksha. He is liberated. He is instantly liberated. The causal body falls away. Such a person is called Jivan Mukta. While leaving, he is liberated. And such a Jivan Mukta, because of the Prarabdha Sarira continuing, he continues as per this time cycle or the karma of the Prarabdha karma, and at the time of departure, when the body gets discarded, the Jivan Mukta becomes a Videha Mukta, one with the Brahman. So it is through the knowledge he gains. So there is a Jivan Mukta in terms of Jivan Mukta and Krama Mukta. The Videha Mukta is talked about in Advaita Vedanta Shastra. But here in the Archiradi Marga, the Prakriya used is slightly different. Here also they talk about, it's called Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti. Sadhyo Mukti means the Mukti takes place immediately. But here the Sadhyo Mukti is equivalent to the Videha Mukti in the Advaita Shastra. That means after gaining Jivan Mukta, you become Videha Mukta. That Videha Mukta is same as a Sadhyo Mukti. In in Vishishtadvaita they use the term as for Sadhyoha Mukti. Sadhyoha Mukti as Tripta Mukta and Krama Mukti as Artha Mukta. So a person gains instant liberation by taking here the prakriya used is also a yogi. A yogi who has got the Ashtanga Yoga as a basis gains dharana, dhyana, dharana and samadhi. Through pranayama, he goes through dharana, dhyana, samadhi, gains in the nirvikalpa samadhi state where he is. Then he talked about how he gains liberation. That is being talked about here. Here it is said that a person gains instant liberation by taking the vital energy to the Ajna Chakra and then gives up even the subtle body. In Videha Mukti, he still desires to go to Brahma Loka, and therefore he goes to Brahma Loka. This is called Krama Mukti. He goes out through the Brahmarandra in the head, Murdataha it says, along with the subtle body. There he gets Mukti at the time of Mahapralaya, along with the Brahma, the creator. This reference is also made about in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Brahma Sutra and Chandogya about this Krama Mukti. He travels to the Ribipada or the place of the sun through the deities presiding over sun, fire, daytime, Shukla Paksha and Uttarayana, and after enjoying the pleasures in each of these realms, he reaches the Dhruva Loka and then to the Mahar Loka and Brahma Loka. Residing in Brahma Loka or even Vishnu Loka, they say, he attains liberation. There are two ways of liberation, either at the time of Prakrita Pralaya. Prakrita Pralaya already I covered earlier, is when the Brahmaji's Ayush comes to an end. So at that time, till that time he resides in the Brahma Loka and then merges with the Parabrahman at the time of Prakrita Pralaya. But if he wants to merge earlier, gain moksha earlier, he so desires by piercing through the Brahmanda by his yogic power. It says, the word is used is Saha Muchyate, that is Dasaka 4, verse number 13. Ojasa, by the power of his yoga, Jagadandam, the Brahmanda or the cosmic sphere, Sambibidya, pierces through, he becomes liberated. He becomes liberated by the power of yoga. Yoga is talked about. By the power of his yoga, he attains liberation immediately through the Brahmanda or the cosmic sphere. So there also he has got an option that he need not wait for the Prakritika Pralaya. He can also immediately gain liberation through the power of his yoga. If he wants to gaze through the Prakrita Pralaya at the end of it, thereafter he traverses through the 7 enclosures of the Brahmanda, which are made up of subtle elements. That is, when he wants to, he gets himself liberated through the Brahmanda, the stage talked about, he is also mentioned here. He traverses through the 7 enclosures of Brahmanda, made up of subtle elements, 5 elements. Subtle elements is 5. Akasha, Vayu, Apaha, Agnihi, Prithvi. Agasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. These 5 elements and plus Mahat and Prakriti, Maya. This is all covered in the Dasaka 4, which I don't want to go in detail. The subtle body traverses through these enclosures of this Brahmanda and it gets merged with the Brahman. The subtle body merges into the layer made up of each of these elements and then gets dissolved. Then what remains is only the individual self. That self merges into the Supreme Self or the Parabrahman. So in the Brahma Loka also, he can get liberation immediately. But this is again part of the Krama Mukti only, that through the yogic power, or he gets liberated, he resides the Brahma Loka, but of course always thinking of the Brahman only, of the truth only, and at the time of Prakrita Pralaya, he gets liberated because he is freed of the subtle body and merges one with the Supreme Reality. This is how the explanation given in this verse number 8, more descriptive. Bhave bhave yata bhakti padayostav jayate तथा कुरुष्य देवेश नातस्त्वं नो जगत्प्रभो नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परं। नारायण अखिलगुरु भगवन् नमस्ते। हरि ओम्। या देवी स्तूयते नित्यं विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सा मे वसतु जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती। नमामि नारायणपादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायणपूजनं सदा वदामि नारायणनामनिर्मलं स्मरामि नारायणतत्त्वमव्ययम्। Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Guru Ayappan, Mahapariva and Guru Parampara, we are now on Dasakam 15, completed verse number 8 in the last session. There we saw that how a ordinary bhakta who performs Kamya Karma only goes through the southern path and he is caught up in the cycle of birth and death, and he cannot gain liberation. Whereas the one who performs Nishkamya Karma, desireless action, dedicated to only to the Lord, goes by the northern path. And this northern path, this liberation is talked about of a yogi, one who meditates on Omkara, Lord in the form of Omkara, and through the yogic path, one gains two types of mukti. One is called the Sadhyo Mukti, that is, after death, he gains the Videha Mukti, that through the Ajna Chakra, the vital energy gains Laya with the Brahman, the ultimate Brahman, and it drops the subtle body. Whereas in the case of yogi who seeks travel in the Brahmaloka, he goes through up to Brahmaloka along with the Devatas, through the various Devatas, and in Brahmaloka he gains Mukti either at the end of the Brahmaji's Prakriti Pralaya or Mahapralaya, or if he wants to gain immediately, he gains by piercing out through the Brahmanda and then dropping the subtle body. We saw all that. Now a similar reference of this is also made in Bhagavad Gita, which I thought also more relevant to quote here. Verses number 24 to 26 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8. Verse number 24 says, Agnir Jyoti Rahas Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahmabito Janaha. The meaning is, the god of the fair, Agni Jyotihi Ahaha, the god of the time, Shuklaha, the god of the day, the god of the fortnight or the waxing moon, the god of the 6 months of the sun's travel are there. In which route? That is the Uttarayana. To that Brahmaloka go the meditators of Brahman after death, Brahmavitaha. The word Brahmavitaha says that those people who meditate upon Brahman through Omkara, they go to Brahmaloka. Having reached there, they can gain the knowledge of themselves as Brahman. If they have not gained a certain composure or Naishalyam through the Upasana there, the Vedanta Sranam they have done becomes fruitful when they go to Brahmaloka. Then there is no return for them. Here we are only talking about those meditators who are successful enough to go to Brahmaloka. We know that the gain is of Brahmaloka rather than Brahman, because they follow a path with Devatas on the way. Shankara says clearly that they go to Brahmaloka and gain knowledge of Brahman Kramena. Without knowledge, Mukti is not possible. And he also adds that Shankara says, for knowers of Brahman, there is no travel at all. That is, those who gain knowledge through Shravana Manana Nitidhyasana, there is no need for going to Brahmaloka. This is only meant for those who become the yogi, who meditate on the Brahman and then seek travel. The intention of Bhagavan is not to describe various paths, but to point out that meditators go to Brahmaloka and that the path is better for them. So we have to take here the Brahmavida means as meditators on Brahman and not as knowers of Brahman, because there is no going or coming for those who have got clear knowledge of Brahman, which needs to be understood. So for the wise man, there is no subtle body to depart, so there is no travel involved. So it is only for a yogi who meditates on the Brahman, this travel is involved, that is being talked about. And in verse number 25 also, they talk about the path. Dhumo ratris tatha krishnaha षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम तत्र चांद्रमसम ज्योतिः yogi prapya nivartate. So where the preceding deity of smoke, similarly the god of night, the god of the dark fortnight, the god of the 6 months when the sun is traveling south, that is Dakshinayana, and the god of the results of action, the yogi, having gained the world of the moon, he returns. This is talked about a person who is performing only Kamya Karma and gains Punya, so he travels to the southern path, does not gain liberation and comes back. So this is called the Dakshinayana path. And the verse number 26, this verse says, Shukla Krishne Gati Hyete Jagata Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yatayan Avrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. Says, as is well known, these two parts of the world, the bright and the dark, are considered eternal by the one who goes to a place of no return and by the other one who returns again. So these two paths you gain various sense called Shukla, the bright path, and Krishna, the dark path. He is indicated as known in the Shastra. Since there can be no proof of this path, Shastra is the only means of knowing them. Jagataha is the word used, means for the world of people, the meditators and those who do good action. For such people who are qualified to karma, do karmas, these are the two paths it is talked about. Shashvate Mate is used. They are considered eternal. Because these paths are relatively eternal because samsara can go on indefinitely. Unless you gain moksha, it does not come to an end. So you have to put to an end by knowing the truth about yourself. So when we say that these two paths are eternal, the idea is that there is no natural liberation. You must have a desire to know, and until that happens, samsara continues. So for the jiva who is ignorant, samsara seems to be eternal. That is why the word here eternal is used in this context. So by one path, he goes to an end from which there is no return, anavrittihi. That is called the Shukla Gati, whereby he reaches Brahmaloka and there being taught by Brahmaji gains moksha. If he goes by the other, the Dhuma or Krishna Gati, he comes back, and between these two paths, one would naturally want to choose the bright one which leads to moksha. So moksha, however, is not gained by a path but by knowledge, which is what Shankara mentions here also. Even when the yogi, so-called yogi, goes to Brahmaloka, there also he has to gain knowledge, then only he gets liberated. Either at the end of the Prakrita Pralaya or immediately or through the Brahmanda. They talk about piercing the Brahmanda, etc. But it is after knowledge. And that is how this is covered in the Bhagavad Gita also in a similar fashion. There is another thing also I would like to clarify here. This Dakshinayana Uttarayana is used. This Dakshinayana Uttarayana is used for the seekers of liberation. It is said that when ordinary person, when he passes on the Uttarayana, he gains moksha, which is not which is not true. Unless one leads a life in keeping with the desire for liberation, one does not gain moksha. Merely one passes the body passes away in the Uttarayana doesn't mean one gains moksha. Even if he is Ajnani, he can again come back. So even though he lies in the Uttarayana, he is traveling through only the southern path. An ignorant person, a person who is not moksha, claiming moksha, will travel through the southern path only after the death and comes back. And even a person, when he casts his body in the Dakshinayana, still he can gain moksha, because if he has got the knowledge or with the inclination for knowing, he may travel still after the casting the body through the subtle body, he will travel through the northern directions. So the Uttarayana, Dakshinayana mentioned in our normal cycle for death and this has no relevance to the jiva, the soul, which gets liberated after the casting away the gross body. This should be understood very clearly. Because there are many jnanis who pass away in the Dakshinayana, but they gain moksha. So it has nothing to do with Dakshinayana, Uttarayana, which is applicable here. That needs to be also understood very clearly. With this, we will go into the verse number 9. Iti subitita vedyam devahe devahutim kritanuti manugrihya tvam gato yogi sangaihi vimala matirathasau bhakti yogena mukta त्वमपि जनहितार्थं वर्तसे प्रागुदीच्यम् इति सुविदितवेद्यां देवहे देवहूतिं कृतनुतिमनुगृह्य त्वं गतो योगिसङ्गैः विमलमतिरथासौ भक्तियोगेन मुक्ता त्वमपि जनहितार्थं वर्तसे प्रागुदीच्यम् इति सुविदितवेद्यां कृतनुतिं देवहूतिम् अनुगृह्य देव हे देव त्वं योगिसङ्गै गतः विमलमति असौ अथ भक्तियोगेन मुक्ता त्वमपि जनहितार्थं प्रागुदीच्यां वर्तसे. Meaning will be iti suviditabhedyam, who had thus known well what is to be done, what is to be known. Suviditam means what is to be known. Kritanutim, and who was praising thee. Nutihi means praise. Devahutim, to Devahuti, anugrihya, having blessed. He Deva, O Lord, Tvam, thou, yogi sankyai saha, along with a band of yogis, gataha, did depart. Vimalamatihi asau, Devahuti, who had become pure in mind, atha, then, bhakti yogena mukta, attained liberation by the path of devotion. Tvamapi, thou also, janahitartham, for the good of the world, prag udichyam, in the northeast, vartase, does live even now. Meaning of the verse, Devahuti, who had thus known all that is to be known, was singing thy praise, O Lord. After blessing her, thou did live along with a band of yogis. Devahuti, who had attained purity of mind, became liberated by following the path of devotion. Thou dost even now stay in the northeast for the good of the world. This is the literal meaning of the verse. Here it is mentioned that Lord as Kapila Vasudeva gave Jnana Upadesha to Devahuti. Through Bhagavad Kirtanam, singing the glory of the Lord, worship of the Lord in the form of puja and namaskara, which are all considered to be sadhana bhakti or means for purification of mind, Devahuti got freed from the impurities and got released from the hold of likes and dislikes, and through that, this is called as a path of devotion they are talking, but which finally led to, through dhyanam or contemplation on the Lord, she gained the parabhakti in the form of knowledge. Understanding, gaining that union with the Lord, that Lord alone is the supreme, the reality to be contemplated upon. With that knowledge, she gained liberation. That's how it is explained here. The talked about is path of devotion, bhakti yoga, but behind bhakti yoga also, the jnanam also is to be understood. Without jnanam, mere bhakti will not, bhakti yoga is not complete. So with Dvaita bhakti, she gained the Advaita jnanam, that she contemplated on the Lord, free from the all impurities, and gained the vision that the Lord and she, they are not separate. And with that kind of knowledge, she gained liberation, is to be understood that way. And it is also mentioned then, Kapila, for Loka Sangraha, departed in the northeast direction to give the knowledge of Jnana Yoga to mankind, and thereby they gain liberation. In Shastra, east is a direction which is given prominent. For example, it is mentioned that even when we sleep, our ideal to rest the head on the east. East is a direction for even during puja, japa, etc. Facing east, whereby the sadhana becomes more fruitful. For good health and even developing ekagrata, single pointedness, this direction is considered to be ideal direction for the sadhaka or devotee. So the east coupled with north. North is considered to be the direction for liberation, for moksha. Therefore, the northeast is pointed out here, which is having the similar benefit as we have in the east, and it is considered to be also the direction of Lord Shiva, who is the Parama Guru. So it is ideal for spiritual growth. Hence, it is mentioned here that the Lord departed in the northeast direction. So northeast represents the north direction of Uttarayana also, should be mentioned here and should be understood here. It is also mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana that the sons of Sagara, who went down in the northeast in search of their father's sacrificial horse, met Kapila. That is in the Balakanda, it is come there somewhere in verses 25 and 26. So there also it is mentioned they went in the northeast direction in search of their father's sacrificial horse. Therefore, northeast is considered to be a direction for Upasana as well as for Nivritti Marga, for gaining liberation. Hence, it is mentioned here that Lord as Kapila departed in the northeast direction for the benefit of the mankind. And it is mentioned he is staying even now in the northeast for the good of the world. So that's how the verse number 9 concludes. Bhave bhave yata bhaktihi patayostava jayate tata kurusha devesha natastvam no yata prabhu nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranasanam pranamo dukkha samanaha tam namami harim param narayana akila guru bhagavan namaste. Ya devi stuyade nityam विबुधैर्वेदपारगैः सामय वसति जिह्वाग्रे ब्रह्मरूपा सरस्वती नमामि नारायण पादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायण पूजनं सदा वदामि नारायण नाम निर्मलं स्मरामि नारायण तत्त्वमव्ययम्. Invoking the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Mahapiriyava, Guruvayurappan, Mahapiriyava and Guru Parampara, we now are in the concluding verse number 10 of Dasakam 15. Parama kimu bahuktya tvatpadam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarvakamopanetrim vadasi khalu dridam tvam tad vidhuyamayan me guru pavana puresha tvayupa datsva bhaktim. Parama किमु बहुक्त्या तत्पदां भोज भक्तिं सकल भयविनेत्रीं सर्वकामोपनेत्रीं वदसि खलु दृढं त्वं तद्विधूयामयान्मे गुरुपवनपुरेश त्वय्युपदत्स्व भक्तिम्. अन्वय. हे परम बहुक्त्या किमु त्वत्पदां भोज भक्तिं सकल भय विनेत्रीं सर्वकामोपनेत्रीं त्वं दृढं खलु वदसि तत् मे आमयान् विधूय हे गुरुपवनपुरेश त्वयि भक्तिम् उपादत्स्व. हे परम, ओ सुप्रीम लॉर्ड, बहुक्त्या किम, why say so much? Tvatpadambhoja bhaktim, devotion to thy lotus feet. Tvatpada ambhoja. Sakala bhaya vinetrim, vinetrim is destroyer. Sakala bhaya vinetrim, what removes all fear. Sarva kamopanetrim, and the fulfiller of all desires. Upanetri means fulfiller. Tvam dridham kalu vadasi, thou dost firmly declare indeed. Tat, therefore, me amayan vidhuya. Vidhuya means eradicate or remove. Amayan means ailments. Eradicating my ailments. He Guru Pavana Puresha, O Lord of Guruvayur, Tvayi Bhaktim Upadatsva, endow me with devotion to thee. Translation. O Supreme Lord, why say much? Thou dost firmly declare that devotion to thy lotus feet removes all fear and fulfills all desires. Therefore, O Lord of Guruvayur, deign to eradicate my ailments and endow me with devotion to thee. So this is the concluding verse of the Kapilopadesham, where the Lord is addressed as Param. Hey Param, Supreme Lord. Lord is the Parabrahman. The word Param means one who is absolute. because there is only one Vastu, which is Brahman, which is the Swarupa of the Lord, is addressed as the Param Brahma. When there is no second Vastu, there is no sense of comparison. There is nothing equal to or above God. He is the Niradishaya Vastu. So such a Param Lord, who is addressed to, he says that you give me what is called the Para Bhakti. Because the Para Bhakti is considered to be the Shrestha or the supreme devotion, the highest absolute devotion. So the absolute Vastu gives the absolute devotion. The word Vastu here means the reality. Vasati Sarvata iti Vastu. It should be seen as that. So that is being talked about here. And as Bhakti is described as the Parama Prema or Amrita Swarupa. Parama Prema means the supreme devotion. And Amrita Swarupa means that gives you immortality or gives freedom from samsara. Removes us from the liberates us from the birth and death cycle. So mind of such a bhakta also will be what? Calm, cheerful and confident to face any adversities in life. So that is why he says, when the mind is happy, where is the question of dukkha? And this gives all prosperity or abhishta. So the upalakshana of the Parama Bhakti is talked in terms of removal of two things. Removes our fear. Fear comes only when there is second Vastu. Dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati. Since there is only one Vastu, there is no question of fear at all. So in the absolute sense, we say that because there is only what is there is Parabrahman, therefore there is no question of fear. Second, in the relative measure also we can say that as when I related myself to Lord, there is no sense of fear because I am connecting myself to the infinite, the one who is all powerful, all knowing. Therefore I am the lap of the Lord. Therefore the Lord protects me from all kind of samsarika sufferings, ailments. And therefore there is no question of fear. It is exactly like when a child is in the mother of the lap, then the child has no fear. The mother is the shock absorber. Here the God also is like a shock absorber. So in the relative sense also there is no fear. In the absolute sense also there is no fear because there is no second Vastu. And therefore there is no sense of insecurity. Fear always comes from insecurity. So absolutely also I have no insecurity because there is no second thing. Relatively also I have no insecurity because I am connected to the infinite. That's how this should be taken. The second is the Lord gives all abhishta. Abhishta means all prosperity. The ultimate purpose of Parabhakti is gaining that absolute happiness. That happiness for which there is no comparison. So when I gain the absolute happiness, all the relative happiness have no meaning for me. This absolute happiness, which is the Swarupa of the Brahman, is the ultimate goal, and hence this search for the relative worldly happiness is futile. Bhagavata Sambharishi says that Ashahi paramam dukkham, nairashya paramam sugam. One who is attached to the sensual pleasures and worldly enjoyments, he gains only dukkham. Whereas one who is free from this gains the absolute happiness. So when one has to gain this absolute happiness, one has to rise above the worldly attachments. That is the message given here. So the happiness which is gained is permanent or eternal, and therefore nothing more to be gained. That is the meaning of the word absolute happiness. This alone can lead to the moksha or liberation from samsara. So the bhakta is you have the Parama Prema and Amrita Swarupa. So Amrita Swarupa is this kind of immortality where there is total liberation. So such a person will be free from the sense objects and sensual pressures and will have no fear whatsoever. So that is why the Lord is called as the Sarvabhishta Dayaka, one who gives all prosperity in the form of absolute happiness, and he also takes care of all our problems, whatever we face out of prarabdha. So such a devotion to Lord creates a mind which is humble and cultured, samskara sahitam. This is the essence given about the Parabhakti. Talking about this Parabhakti, I would also like to go through the verse in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 where Lord says, चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जनाः सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्ता जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ. The people given to good actions who worship with me are fourfold. Arjuna, the one is one in distress called Artha, the one who wants security and pleasure called Artharthi, the one who wishes to know me called Jignasu, and the one who knows me, that is the Jnani, who is the foremost in my bhaktas. And the Lord says in the next verse, why he is the foremost? Because he says here in verse number 17, Tesham jnani nityayukta ekabhaktir visishyate priyo hi jnaninotyartam aham sacha mama priyaha. So among these, the jnani nityayukta, always united to me, his devotion resolved in oneness. He is distinguished because I am totally beloved to him, and is also absolutely my beloved. So Lord is my beloved, and I am also the beloved of the Lord. Both we can take either way. The Lord says that he is one with me. So the person who is the parabhakti, enjoying the parabhakti, he is not separate from the Lord. He is neither distant from the Lord nor distinct from him. God is neither distinct from the devotee nor distinct from the devotee. Because there is no distinction between the God and the bhakta, there is oneness. So in that oneness, there is absolutely no distance. So that is the state of parabhakti is talked about, and that parabhakti alone is the nature of liberation or the moksha. So the ultimate message of Kapilopadesha is to develop that supreme devotion to Lord, which gives total detachment from worldly objects and sensual pleasures which are more trinkets or trivialities, and gain sakshatkara or union with the Lord. This union with the Lord gives an absolute happiness, or makes the person one with the Lord, united with the Lord. He has no more to achieve, he has nothing more to achieve. And that is the message given here. And the Bhattatripar also adds a prayer saying that, O Lord, endow me with such parabhakti, with devotion, and eradicate me of all my mental and bodily ailments. Mental ailments in the form of ragadvesha, and also bodily ailments. May amayan vidhuya. Amayan means the ailments, the vidhuya. So the message here given to us is that from we should always aim for devotion to Lord, which is free from any kind of expectation. The bhakti which is called ahetuka or avyaja. So that only with that devotion we can gain that knowledge that the God or the Brahman is not separate from me. I am not separate from him. Only through this knowledge I can gain liberation. There is no other way to gain liberation. That is why the Lord talks of parabhakti. Parabhakti is nothing but another form of absolute jnanam. Jnanameva parabhaktihi iti, says Shankara. The devotion which is absolute is nothing but Atma Jnanam. So this Atma Jnanam alone liberates a person from the samsara and the bondage or ailments of samsara. This message is clearly brought out in this Kapilopadesha, and this will be concluding the Dashakam 15 of this Narayaniyam. Bhave bhave yada bhaktihi padayostava jayade tata kurusha devesha नातस्त्वं नोजतः प्रभो नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपाप प्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परं. नारायण अखिल गुरु भगवन् नमस्ते. हरि ओम.
गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा. Chanting of the 15th Dashakam of Narayaniyam. Matiriha gunasakta बन्धकृत्येष्वसक्ता त्वमृतकृतुपरुन्दे भक्तियोगस्तु सक्तिं महदनुगमलभ्या भक्तिरेवात्र साध्या कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादिः प्रकृतिमहदहङ्काराश्च मात्राश्च भूता अपि हृदपि सदसाक्षी पुरुषः पञ्चविंशः इति विदितविभागो मुच्यते सौ प्रकृत्याः कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः प्रकृतिगतगुणौ नाज्यते पुरुषोऽयं यदि तु सजति तस्यां तद्गुणास्थं भजेर मदनुभजनतत्त्वालोचनैः साप्यपेयात् कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः विमलमतिरुपात्यैः आसनाध्यैमदङ्गं गरुडसमधिरूढं दिव्यभूषायुधाङ्कं रुचितुलिततमालं शीलयेतानुवेलं कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः मम गुणगणलीलाकर्णनैः कीर्तनाद्यैः अयि सुरसरिदोघप्रख्यचित्तानुवृत्तिः भवति परमभक्तिः सा हि मृत्योर्विजेत्री कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः आह बहुलहिंसा सञ्चितार्थः कुटुम्बं प्रतिदिनमनुपुष्णन् श्रीजितो बाललाली विशति हि गृहसक्तो यातनां मय्यभक्तः कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः युवति जठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्डे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यं पुनरपि भदमुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्मदूतक्पदार्थं कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादिः इति सुविदितभेद्यां देवहे देवहूतिं